just admit that Hideki Kamiya is absolutely the most based mad lad in the entire industry? I can't think of a single person who has completely destroyed the narratives regarding Japanese games to the same extent that this man has, right? This is a man who, like, with a single video game release, somehow destroyed the LGBT narrative regarding his iconic character Bayonetta, and now he's going up against like Square Enix's fake and gay like JRPGs are racist narrative, which seems to have been something that they came up with to try and like make JRPGs seem more appealing to Westerners, right? It doesn't seem organic at all. This idea that like Japanese people find the term JRPGs offensive because, anybody who knows anything about the genre, who respects it all, understands that JRPGs have a very real legacy and have a lot of respect for them. And like, I have gone on rants about this, right? Like I have been angry about the nonsense that like Yoshi P and Square tried to pull with this, where they tried and say that like the JRPG genre like label was like discriminatory, right? Right? It isn't offensive at all, right? And so Hideki Kamiya comes out and he's just like, yeah, that is bullshit. Like, we should take pride in the fact that these are RPGs that only the Japanese can make. And I think further that we should extend that label to other titles, specifically our brand of action games. So I think he thinks that Bayonetta should be considered a Japanese action game, right? To differentiate it from like action games from like the Western world. And honestly, considering like the best term we have for Bayonetta right now is like hack and slash, which doesn't really suit it at all, or character action, which is a term made by like the Gaming Brit show, which everyone fucking hates, and people have been like trying to move away from it for a long time. But like, it is not, like I think Kamiya has like, okay, first of all, Japanese action games. Okay, that is the new label for Bayonetta. Like, first and foremost, okay, for games like Beautiful Joe, for games like Bayonetta, for like, the kind of action games that Platinum Games puts out, they're Japanese action games now. None of this like character action bullshit. They are Japanese action games, right? They are different than Western action games. They can only be made by the Japanese, and we have to acknowledge like this is the new genre name now. Okay, none of this bullshit like from like fan fiction from gaming YouTubers. Japanese action. That is the new term for it. And I think going forward we also need to like rename like Metroidvania as well, because that isn't Castlevania hasn't influenced the genre at all. But like, okay, again, so basically, Kamiya is absolutely right, right? Like, why exactly does labeling something as Japanese like invalidate it in any way, shape, or form? If anything, for people like me, people who like obviously love Japanese stuff and like love their culture, love the people, love their women, like for people like us, like liking Japanese developers like are the best in the industry. Like, we have nothing but respect for them. Rather than being discriminatory, I think it's a label that emphasizes just how high quality it is and how it's better than everything else in the industry. Like, I've gone on rant about this, how the Japanese RPG system is infinitely better than stuff like from Mass Effect, from Skyrim, from like Obsidian, anything these frauds have put out over the past couple of years, right? Like since the dawn of their creation, right? Dragon Quest stomped the shit out of Ultima, right? Right? It has been a complete joke, all right, that we've seen the Japanese game industry try to go this way in order to like globalize the product. They try like trimming down all the aspects that like appeal to their core Japanese audience. That they're trying to like go after the COD numbers, right? And they keep failing over and over and over again. And they're just gonna keep doing it because, oh man, we gotta do well in the global market. Like, no, they don't, honestly. Like, they just need to keep doing what they're doing and keep making good, interesting games that appeal to their core audience. And more and more, we're seeing complete retards like Yoshi P, like Nomura, like everyone at Square Enix, like try and distance themselves from that. While you, on the other end of the spectrum, you have like absolute Giga Chad Hideki Kamiya coming out and saying that, like, yeah, that's all bullshit. We should take pride in who we are and what we make and stuff like that. And I 100% agree with Kamiya on this. Like, Kamiya is an absolute legend in the industry. And I think his long-term legacy, speaking out against stuff like this, is, I think, going to be a template for aspiring Japanese game developers going forward. Because what you're doing when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to like no one, right? Like that's kind of the mindset that like the SJWs that's why SJWs will never be satisfied, right? Like, but you have to like make it appeal to like these people. But like when you try like catering to their demands, like it just ends up being a product that like nobody actually likes, right? Because they're not making a project that appeals to people. They're just doing a bunch of like they're just ticking off a bunch of checkboxes and not really thinking about what they're doing creatively, right? Like what they're trying to accomplish. I think Kamiya is absolutely right. I think Square Enix like completely dropped the ball with Final Fantasy 16. I think it's bombing in Japan for a very good reason. It's well deserved, and Kamiya is absolutely right in that the Japanese, and I think the Western world as well, really need to take pride in who they are and really value what they do and what they want to make for their audience, right? I think that is the most base thing for anyone to possibly do.